True believers, it is Sean-orama here, the Sean Geek Podcast, on the road. Yes, on the road. I am definitely on the road this morning. The sound quality is going to be incredibly better today. And the reasoning for that is I am driving my wife's car. That's right. I drive what in our city we refer to as the beater car. And my wife drives the excellent, great condition, newer car. So today I am actually on vacation. And what am I on vacation for? Don't know. What do you think it might be? I'm on vacation for Thanksgiving. But more than that, Thanksgiving in Canada, if you are listening from another country, which we're going to get to in a second because I do want to talk about that. It is Thanksgiving weekend this weekend, and Thanksgiving weekend also happens to fall on my birthday and my wife's birthday. That's true. Wife geek, or whatever you want to call her. She is she has her birthday a day before mine, which is kind of cool. So every year, our birthdays tend to fall around the Canadian Thanksgiving holiday, which in theory sounds great, but in truth, not so great, but kind of great. I will explain the logistics of this to you. So, we're married. We're married, so what happens is we have to do a Thanksgiving on each side of the family. So, logistically, we have done Thanksgiving with both families on the same day. This leads to a couch coma, having that much turkey in one day in two settings. It's very, very difficult. Yeah, it's very, very difficult. By the time you get to your second Thanksgiving in the same day, you're kind of bloaty from the first one, and then you're going into the second one. The first one tends to be at Silvy's family's place, her parents' place, which always involves imbibing with her dad. So you're bloaty, you get a little bit of edge going on from drinking with the old father-in-law, and then you're going crippled into the next event, where you're at a bit of a disadvantage going in. You're bloaty. Yeah, it's tough. And then normally we would do that on a Sunday. Monday's the holiday. So Monday's the day of recovery where Silvy and I get nothing done. We don't celebrate our birthdays or anything. We're just like, whoa. So I can't remember how many years ago, but several years ago, Silvy and I decided to book it off. So we take a couple of days of holidays, and what we do is we take a couple of days just for ourselves, no other family other than our kids and the dog, and we do stuff for ourselves. So that is literally what I'm doing today. Why am I not with my wife in the car, and why is she not speaking? Well, A, she's shy, and B, she's not in the car. So today, another one of our traditions we do is we book a massage for each of us, and that's exactly where I'm headed right now. And because we're both on vacation, she's at home, I get the nice car. How's that for a long way to tell a story? So, Thanksgiving theme. What I want to say is I've got a lot of things to be thankful for. I think this is the episode. I'm just deep in thought. Today's very thoughtful, thinky kind of day. I am grateful for a lot of things. I've had a few curves thrown at me in my life, actually a fair number of them. I'm not in a worse position than a lot of people, but I have had tough times, for sure. Definitely for sure. Those university days were really, really difficult for me, and somewhat self-imposed, but it was setting myself up in the future by not taking student loans and paying cash for everything. It definitely built character and made me appreciate what I had, i.e. Thanksgiving. But I paid my own red pennies for every single course that I took. Came right out of my pocket. And at the end, this is why I'm kind of thankful. In the end, it took so much money out of my pocket that I was in a very difficult position. I could have racked up debt and hoped to hell that I could recover post-university with all the money I'd be making from my degree. But I wasn't guaranteed to take that gamble. Like I knew there was no guarantee that my university degree would get me a good job, or it would get me a job at all. And in fact, I don't even know if my university degree has helped me at all. But that's a whole other discussion. What I did learn is that by pulling my bootstraps up and busting my hump in any industry, eventually you get good at it. And that's what I did. I worked my way up, quote unquote, from the mailroom and earned my stripes and became what I am today, which I'm not saying I'm like a doctor or anything, ultra special, but I have put myself in a position where I'm in a job that I like. I'm really good at what I do, and yeah. So thankful that I went through those hard times and had to bust my hump. The last couple of years were really, really rough in university. Really, really, really rough. Particularly the last year was really hard. I was living in a dump of an apartment. I had it was a 2-bedroom apartment. I had 2 roommates. So there was 3 of us. And I still was barely making rent. And at one point I was going to be kicked out. I never fell behind my rent, but I was at the point where if I couldn't find a way to make more money, i.e. take less classes in university, or drop out, I was not going to be able to afford to pay rent anymore. So I got through it. I somehow got through it. And in the end, shocker of shocks, I ended up not completing university because at one point it was set up in such a way. No, it wasn't set up. I'm just trying to be eloquent here this early in the morning. So what it came down to was I spent all my money on classes, and then once the summer came around, I would just work and work and work. I worked 30 hours a week during the school year, and then I worked, I think the last year I was working 40 hours a week and taking university. So I kind of had weird shifts and stuff to get that amount of hours and to be able to take classes. Every year what I did is I budgeted how much I could afford for that year. Like, how much the classes were going to cost, the books and all that sort of stuff. And the money I made throughout the year and throughout the summer, I would say, okay, well, this allows me to take, the full course load. As each year progressed, I was able to take less classes and less classes and less classes to the point, I think in my final year, I only took 3 classes. So proportionately, I took as many classes as it took to pay for tuition, and I balanced my books to say, okay, well, I can take this many classes, and then in the school year, I'm going to work X amount of money, so I'm saving up for the next semester or the next year of school. I never took summer classes because there's no way I could have ever afforded to do that. And in the final year, I think it was it was really tough because I was at the point where I got to a point where I'd make this big meal, and that big meal, I was basically I was eating every couple of days, I guess is how it played out. So those were super tough times. Now, it gave me a bit of skepticism towards university and what it gives you, because what I had done is I looked at, in university they've got these job boards, I guess. So basically within the faculty that you're in, I was in management, it lists the jobs you can get and jobs that are posted for, for what you're getting your degree for. So it kind of gives you an idea of where you're going to be and what you can do. So once you have graduated, then okay, well, I'm going to be able to get into a job that's going to allow me to do this and make this much money. So I kept looking at those boards in my final year and to kind of see where I was at. And what I was seeing was that the salary I was going to get paid was slightly better than what I was currently making in my retail job. Management does not pay, or at least it did not back in the day. So I was like, wow, so I'm paying, all this money for a degree that is going to pay me slightly more than what I make. And conversely, the management positions that were being offered were ones that I knew that some people were doing without a degree. And they got to that position by not going to school and by taking those 4 years to work up the ladder, or 6 years to work up the ladder, or whatever it was. So it's like, okay, I could drop out now and start shooting towards that. Oh, hang on, I had a phone call.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, chicken butt?
You left me with no gas.
I'm sure you made it there.
No, I'm still stuck in traffic. I'm gonna be late.
You have gas. It tells you how many kilometers you can go.
I know.
How many kilometers can you go?
26.
That's a lot. That's to my mom's house and back.
Yeah, well, if I'm stuck in traffic, I should have left earlier. I shouldn't have believed Google. I'm still on 10 minutes. But whatever.
Well, but you Google mapped it. It said you would be there at what time?
It said 25 minutes.
Okay, so what does it say now?
I don't have it open.
Well, why don't you have it open? Because it would tell you the best route when you left.
I did it right before I left, but I'm trying to podcast.
Oh, well.
And if I podcast, then it's going to say, turn right, turn left.
That would be hilarious.
Okay, well, fuck it. I'm turning the podcast off.
Well, you
And
called me, so am I in the podcast?
Yep.
Yelling at me
Yep.
for not having gas.
Did you hear that?
Nope.
Oh. It says it's closed. By the time I get there, it'll be closed.
Because it doesn't open.
This is ridiculous. Fuck.
You'll be fine. What's the worst that will happen, Sean? Your appointment will be
I'll lose 15 minutes of my massage.
Exactly.
That's horrible.
I know that's horrible, honey.
I'm a
but
broken man.
Is that going to kill you? Is that going to kill you?
God, this
No.
construction is horrible here.
You're still on
wait.
holidays.
Everyone's turning on Stradbroke. That's the problem.
You're still on holidays.
I know.
You're still going to have a nice day today.
I'm gonna have a nice day.
You can book another appointment if it wasn't suitable enough of time.
There. Now I'm actually moving. That construction under the bridge is really bad. They said it was a yellow. It's a red.
Well, if you go down Pembina, if you stay in the right lane, the right lane's faster because you go down Pembina.
But I couldn't get in the right lane.
Yep. You got to make that decision. I was on there yesterday and I was like, wow, it's a good thing I'm not turning left because that would suck.
All right, I'm better now. I'm not mad anymore.
All right, because you just have to put
I
it
was
in
worried I was
perspective.
gonna run out of gas because I couldn't get off of Pembina.
Don't worry, dear. You'll be fine. You had a lot. If you had maybe only 10, I would probably panic.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Alright.
Okie dokie, dear.
Okie dokie.
Don't get stressed before you get to your appointment. That's not good.
I know.
I know.
Alright.
Okay.
I'm gonna hang up now.
Probably, yes. It's 9 o'clock. You're doing fine. You have 15 minutes.
Okay. Alright.
Okay, see you later. Bye.
Well, hopefully I'm still recording. I'm going to check to see if I am. Yeah, I'm still recording, so hopefully you caught all that. If not, I might edit it out. We'll see. So, yeah, as I was saying, those were lean times. And in fact, my parents at the time were, they were living in Argentina. And they didn't know how dire my straits were. Yeah, they had no clue because I didn't tell them. I'm a very proud person. I don't like asking for help. If someone gives me help, I'm kind of like, I don't really want it. I'm a little better with it now today. When someone offers to help, I take it. I learned that you got to do that. But anyway, I sent a video. I don't know how I had a video camera. I think my brother had one. Anyway, I was one of the classes I was taking at university was film studies, and I made a movie because it was part of what you had to do. So I made a movie, and in the movie, I guess they got to see what I looked like, and I was very, very skinny because I wasn't eating very often. Every stitch of food that I ate was, I really had to weigh out my finances conclusively before I went grocery shopping, and I literally counted my pennies while I was there. I counted the price, I worked out the tax, I brought a calculator with me, and to see if I had enough money to afford to eat and how much I could afford to buy food-wise. and I shopped at the cheapest places, that sort of thing. Peanut butter and bread got me a long way, and potatoes in those days. But anyway, I looked at those postings on the board and I saw what I could make. And I was disgusted because I'd never looked at these boards before. But I was sold that bill of sales that says if you go to university, you graduate from university, and you have yourself an incredibly high-paying job once you're out. And that's not exactly the truth. And the other thing is, university is supposed to prepare you for what comes after. But that's not necessarily true either. It does give you some skills, and some skills that you may possibly use. But again, you may not use them as well.
In 400 meters, turn right onto Stradbrook Avenue.
I hope you don't hear that lady's annoying voice. So anyway, what serendipity...
Turn right onto Stradbrook Avenue.
Serendipity, or whatever you want to call it, happened. And I, through connections, because that's how you get jobs, it's not usually through anything else, through connections, I was told about a position within my industry that was available, and they were looking for somebody with, quote unquote, no experience. Someone that young, well, I'm still young at that point.
In 600 meters, use the left lane to turn slightly right onto Trans-Canada Highway, Manitoba 1 East.
And then, it was a potential to work somewhere with no experience. They were going to train me from the ground up, teach me who I was, teach me a career. So I went for it. And when they offered me the salary, now I hadn't quit university at this point. I hadn't decided what I was going to do, but I went for the interview. They offered me a salary, and the salary they offered me. Now, I didn't get this. I definitely did not get this because of my education, which I was still in the middle of, or not in the middle of, but still 3/4 of the way through. And what I realized was,
use the left lane to turn slightly right onto Trans-Canada Highway, Manitoba 1 East.
This is Google Maps shouting in the background. Hopefully you're not hearing this, but if I sound distracted and you're not hearing this, this is what it is. And this is what this podcast is all about. I'm on the road. That's when I record. That's when I do my stuff. It's on the road. It's my only free time. So...
in 300 meters, use the left lane to turn left onto Marion Street, Route 115 East. Signs for Rue Marion Street.
I'm on a French Street. I'm about to go on a French Street. And this lady on the Google Maps is mispronouncing everything.
Use the left lane to turn left onto Marion Street, Route 115 East. Signs for Rue Marion Street. And
she's also reminded me 7 times to turn.
In 300 meters, your destination will be on the left.
Yeah, so anyway, I got offered more money than I was going to get paid with my management degree. So based on the jobs, all those jobs that were posted,
your destination is on the left.
All those jobs that were posted on those boards at the school, every single one of those jobs, all paid less than what I get offered. That's just disgusting. Here I am, a guy with a profession, and here I'm being offered way less. The university is offering me jobs that are going to pay way less than what these guys are offering me. And the worst part is I've got no experience. I was going to be trained from the ground up. And suddenly I'm in the business of transportation, which is what I do. So, yeah, I was kind of mad because here I've been busting my hump for the last 4 years, working towards my degree, sometimes not eating for a day, anything just to pay the bills. And this is what I'm seeing. Like, it's kind of backwards. So I started in transportation, and I was trained by two great guys. They had 30 years experience in the industry, and they taught me from the ground up, and really made me who I am today. They set me on the path of my career that I have, that was in no way helped by my university. Now, I will say there's certain classes I took in university that I do use, but overall, because I never graduated, it wasn't anything that helped me in my career. So, yeah, so that's what I gotta say about that. So, I'm thankful that I made it through that. It taught me that sometimes you gotta dig even deeper to get what you want, do what you want to do. And I am grateful and thankful for what I've accomplished and where I'm at. So, it's part 1 of the podcast. Part 2 of the podcast will be coming right up after this little break. Seanorama, Sean Geek Podcast. Yay. I just coming back from my massage. Wow. That is my crack cocaine, I think. But unlike crack cocaine, it's actually good for you. Yeah, that was just awesome. I feel like a brand new man again. Yeah, so I want to give props out. I don't know why I've not done this before, but I'm going to do it now. Props out to New Moon Massage Therapy, which is where I go, which is where Shelly and Amber do the thing. Great place. Shelly's been, friends of the family for so long, and she's not even friends of the family anymore. She's just family. I've been seeing Shelly for forever, and yeah, just wow. Just I don't know. Massage is great. Massage is good. Please go do it. It's you take your car in every 3, 4, 5 months, whatever, to get an oil change. You get everything looked at. You got to do the same thing with your body. Definitely, because you use that body a lot, all day long, man. One thing I didn't touch on yet, I was actually going to do a podcast with Corey, and Corey's in the same situation as me, in that his free time is fleeting, few and far between. So he lost his phone. He has not found his phone. He has not gotten a new phone because he's going to have to probably pay his way out of his contract to get a new phone or something. It's going to be costly. So I haven't done a podcast with him since then. So we were actually going to touch on the X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer and the Captain Marvel trailer. But since that ain't going to happen, and since timeliness is important, let us talk about it right now. It'll just be me. So, Captain Marvel came out first. The trailer came out first. It's highly anticipated. It is a pivotal point for Marvel. They broke the mold when Black Panther came out. All black cast, or predominantly black cast. Black director, writer, like the whole 9 yards. They actually, it's the first time there was ever a big budget film anywhere close to this scale ever, and it broke every record. So yes, they broke ground in that film, and that film is fantastic. So they're doing it again. They're like saying, you know what, we're not going to follow the norms of society and what's expected and how things are expected to be done. And they have a female-led movie. Now, some are saying the first one was Ant-Man and the Wasp, but that was not exactly the same thing. This is a single female lead, female director. I'm not sure if it's a female writer or not, but I'm excited because standard cinema doesn't always work. It's old, it's played out, and I'm excited to have a female-led character. I'm a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In my own writing, I've often used women because women are awesome. It's just the way it is. I think that, and maybe I'm just a bit biased on that, I'm surrounded by women all the time. In my office, work with women. I don't really work with many men, to be honest. I'm surrounded in my home. My wife and everyone else, all my kids are all girls, even the dog's a girl. The households I've grown up in were predominantly female-based, so maybe I get a bit of a bias. But I do like strong female characters, real strong female characters. They have their foibles, they have their, their weaknesses and their strengths, and a well-rounded character, period. So not male, not female, but a well-rounded character is always brings me in as a viewer, reader, whatever. So, and I happen to like Captain Marvel. Now, I became a fan of Captain Marvel. I'd been aware of her. I'd, read a fair amount of comics with her, specifically in the X-Men universe. She kind of became a regular member of the X-Men. In and around the time, if I recall correctly, the X-Men at one point, sometime in the 90s, I guess it was, were very female-centric. Didn't have a lot of male characters on the team. We had Rogue, we had Storm, we had Kitty Pryde, we had, who else did we have? Dazzler. And it was like one or two guys on the team. So it was like a team of 7, and there was like, out of the 7, I think 2 of them were men, which was like Wolverine and Longshot or something like that, or maybe Gambit at certain points. I really liked that era. That era was really cool to me. But during that time, they actually had Carol Danvers, not part of the team, but she was always just in the comic because I guess her military brat background played well, and she didn't have powers because Rogue had stripped her of the powers. So I think they were trying to mend that relationship in the comics, which is really cool. So that was my introduction to Carol Danvers as a character. So basically I have a Marvel team-up issue where she teamed up with Spider-Man, where they fight the Super Skrull, which is pretty cool, actually. But very sparse. She regained a power set in the X-Men and became binary. And she became more of a cosmic character. And then after that, I got reaffiliated with her because she was going under the moniker Ms. Marvel back then. Captain Marvel was the original, who was a Kree, a pink-skinned Kree, because there's the blue-skinned Kree and there's the pink-skinned Kree. He was a pink skin, and died of cancer, and then Captain Marvel was gone. And then there was another Captain Marvel that came after that. That was Monica Rambeau. She was from New Orleans, and she was Captain Marvel. And then it wasn't until Kurt Busiek's run on the Avengers, and on that run in the Avengers, he introduced Carol Danvers, who was now going by the name of Warbird, and I really liked the way he wrote her. She was such a real character in that comic, and in Busiek's run, which ran like 5 years, the standout characters for me were definitely Warbird or Ms. Marvel or Carol Danvers, whatever you want to call her. She was her whole character. She had amazing strengths, but she also had weaknesses. And I like seeing a character that's not all strength, but they get their strength maybe from their weakness, or maybe that's what helps drive them, or that sort of thing. And I really liked what they did with her. It was really, really good. So I really started to like that character on Busiek's run. Like, that really was my turning point for me with that character. Just really enjoyed everything they did. It's really cool. I think they made her into a more human character. Yeah, she's got these crazy powers and she can do all this, crazy cosmic shit. But at her core, she's still, a human. All those same emotions, all those same inconsistencies we have as a race, us humans. We're complex, and they made her complex, and I really, really like that. And throughout that run, I just got to like her more and more and more. And maybe what I liked about her was the same thing I really liked. Captain Britain is my favorite hero of all time. And specifically because of the writing and the dedication that Alan Davis did to the character, and Excalibur, and the Captain Marvel traits and stuff. He was impeccably flawed character. He had all this strength and bravado, and emotionally he really couldn't back it up, but in his heart he could. So he was very flawed, and I guess I like characters that have flaws. But I like the arc of Warbird becoming Captain Marvel, that whole thing where she becomes Captain Marvel. I really, really like that, because she went from being someone who lacked confidence, but the way she portrayed her lack of confidence was by being overconfident and trusting in herself and then failing. I don't know, I liked all that, and in the end it made her an even stronger character. The trials and tribulations she went through, and overcoming them. Sometimes I think it takes weakness to become a strong character, because if you have nothing to overcome and you're just strong right out of the gate, you're less interesting of a character. And she just, she became awesome. She became so awesome to me. This is it. This is the shit. I also followed her a little after the fact, but I started getting the Captain Marvel library, actually. Captain Marvel trades of her post. This is her being Captain Marvel, and she's it's a solo book, and it was very, very interesting. I also mistakenly picked up Ms. Marvel, not realizing that it was a different character, Kamala Khan, and I fell in love with that character too. So all things Marvel for me, I guess. Anyway, so finally getting a trailer for this movie that they've been talking about, planning, and they've been very meticulous, I guess, in how they're going to put the story together, because her backstory is incredibly complex and convoluted. So I think they're finding a way. They're not doing an origin story, from what I understand. There's going to be flashbacks to, who she was, where she came from, all that sort of stuff. The trailer's really good at not showing a lot, but showing a lot. It was very, you get a feel how the movie's going to be. It's definitely going to be a serious movie. I don't know if there's going to be any lightheartedness in it, but it's a Marvel movie. There will be. Even Doctor Strange had lightheartedness. So I'm really looking forward to it. It delivered. It didn't give enough away, but I think Marvel has a track record where they don't have to show so much in their trailers anymore, which is a blessing. You can just go see the movie and have fun with it. Obviously, they're introducing the Skrulls, which I'm a huge Skrull fan. Love the Skrulls. I'm a big Fantastic Four fan, so the Skrulls and the Fantastic Four comics were always a big thing. The Kree Skrull War, like all that stuff, and my understanding is the lead Skrull in this is Talos, who I love. Talos was, I think his nickname was Talos the Tamed, or maybe it was Talos the Untamed, and then it became Talos the Tamed, and he is a Skrull that failed. And foibles. I love foibles. More foibles, the better. Anyway, in terms of the trailer, it was good. It wasn't great. It didn't give me enough, but I don't care. I was going to see this movie anyway. A trailer's not going to sell me on a Captain Marvel movie. Captain Marvel sells me on the Captain Marvel movie. But the little things in it that, tipped it for me, having the Skrulls in there, finally having Coulson back, Agent Coulson from the Avengers movies and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., to see him back at the big screen, it's well deserved because he is a phenomenal character. We get Sam Jackson, a young Sam Jackson, because this is not a time travel movie, but it's set in the past. I'm all for that. I liked the aspects of Ant-Man that I really liked was going back in the past, seeing Hank Pym do his thing. To me, that was very cool. I'm at my destination. I'm just going to pause the podcast at the moment and do a gas thing here. Hi, good. Filling regular?
Regular film?
Yeah, and I'll pay inside.
Okay, pump number 8.
Thank you. Peace. I'm going to pause here. Be right back. I'm back. Stop to get some gas here.
I don't really have, whatever else anyone wants me to do.
What's going on? There you go. Sorry. I'm listening to a podcast and recording a podcast. How about that? So I think the trailer was underwhelming, but it's not a negative thing when it comes to a Marvel trailer. I'd actually like to see less. But there was enough elements in it to entice the nerd in me, and I know it's going to be good. I don't doubt that. The trailer doesn't have to be awesome for me to go see the movie. Not with Marvel. It's a Marvel film. I'm just going to go see the Marvel film. That's pretty much how it works. So, in terms of the X-Men trailer now, this is one I've been anticipating, and I have high hopes for this thing. Why do I have high hopes? This is a vindication movie for the writer, Simon Kinberg, who's been with the franchise since X3, maybe even longer than that, but as a writer since X3. X3 was an abomination of a movie. It had a lot of great moments, but there's a lot of horrible left turns that the movie took that didn't appear to be from the writing perspective, but more from the director's perspective. The director trying to put his own stamp on it, when really, I understand wanting to make your own stamp, but it did not work in any way, shape, or form. Every time, if you listen to the director's commentary of X3, every time you can feel the movie veering off the rails and going into stupidity. Every time that happened was when the director chose to make that decision and going away from the script. So the writer has a lot to prove to the franchise, and I think this is his chance of redemption. Also, closing off the X-Men films, it's made a full circle. This movie, probably takes place just before X1. So I think this movie's going to wrap the whole thing, and I can understand his passion to finish the project and have it be done and end on the right note. So I liked all the X-Men movies. Some of them had weaknesses, definitely, but overall, as a whole, they're pretty good, and at times they're great. That whole controversy with Bryan Singer, I think has hurt the franchise. So to have a new director come in, probably a good thing at this point. I don't know if Bryan Singer's legacy is going to hurt the franchise, like the Harvey Weinstein thing, where it maybe is going to hurt the movies that he produced. Again, I don't know what's going on with the Bryan Singer thing. I just heard about the allegations. I'm not saying he did or didn't do any of those things. But regardless, from a marketing perspective, it does hurt the franchise. So having Simon Kinberg, who wants to redeem himself for X3 because it wasn't the movie it needed to be, and there was many factors. He doesn't go outright and blame the director, but it's very obvious to me that there was a lot of great things in that script, and then I think the script became something else, and they took a lot of elements out that Kinberg probably wanted in there, which I think we're going to see in this film. He did do a great course correct in Days of Future Past. I think on the strength of that alone, I think it shows that this movie can be great. I did like Apocalypse, but I've only seen it once. I liked it for what it was. A lot of people hated on it. Hey, I'm in the era where superhero movies are a thing and happen, and regularly happen, and happen with frequency. So I am a little soft. I'm a little soft on bad superhero movies because I'm still getting superhero movies. It's what I've always wanted to see. It's what we're actually getting. I'm not going to bitch too much. I like them all. Just some I like less than others. So that being said, I liked Apocalypse. X-Men Apocalypse. I thought it was good. Maybe it was a little bit rushed, and you don't build up a villain like Apocalypse over a single film. Maybe that's where the flaw was. Magneto's been built up over how many films now? And to be honest, my biggest complaint about the X-Men films, and also the greatest praise, comes from the use and overuse of Magneto as always being the villain, always being the villain, always being the villain. The universe is, very rich. And yes, Magneto is probably the greatest X-Men villain of all time, but there are others. So, the trailer, is it good? Is it bad? What do you think? I like the trailer. It gives enough hints, enough teases as to what we're going to see. It actually looks really good. It's hinting at a lot of not course correction, but how X3, the whole Dark Phoenix thing, was completely mishandled, or mostly mishandled. I think they're writing the course with this one, making Sophie Turner the star of this movie as opposed to having it be one of the other characters, giving her an edge in this movie. I think that's what the X-Men movies needed to do in the past. Wolverine was always the central character. He was always the star. And I think the flaw in the X-Men movies is not moving that star from movie to movie. Still having, Wolverine as a lead, but shifting the focus on maybe this is more Cyclops' movie, and then the next one is more Jean Grey's movie, and then the next movie is more I think that's the right way to go. Shifting the spotlight a little bit. Now, you can still have all the storylines interplaying, but use different X-Men each time as the focal point. Would have worked really well. And it seems it's shifting to Sophie Turner a bit, which I like. I mean, she's Game of Thrones. She kills it in Game of Thrones. There's no doubt. There's no question there. She's really, really strong, and I like that they're giving her this lead prominent role in this film. Everything in the trailer looks good. I think we're going to see the Starjammers or the Shi'ar or something like that. There's a space side to it. It looks good. It looks good. I'm a massive fan of the original Dark Phoenix storyline. Big fan. I love it. I've reread. I have the comics. I have the trade. I also have the omnibus of it. I've reread it a gazillion times. It is still one of my favorite storylines of all time. And to see it done justice on screen, I'm really looking forward to it. I know Simon Kinberg is a good writer. Every good writer has a bad day. His bad day might have been Apocalypse, perhaps, but keep in mind that the writer doesn't control the final draft, ever. So with him writing and directing and producing and all that sort of stuff for this film, I think the chances of this movie doing much better are there. So out of the two trailers, X-Men thrilled me more than Captain Marvel. But I know Captain Marvel is going to be a good film. X-Men, I'm hoping will be a good film. And I need X-Men to be that great film. Because if we have a female-led Marvel movie, this is kind of a female-led X-Men movie. Let's see what they do. Okay, gonna sign off. Couple of podcasts in the can before Thanksgiving. We'll see how many of these I put out. But live free and prosper and peace out and all those sorts of things. We'll see you on the flip side.